Welcome. Today we are going to talk about China and Brazil and ask ourselves, why is China doing better than Brazil recently, even though China has a clear disadvantage in commodities? Let us first have a look at Brazil, its history and economy. Brazil was colonized in 1500 by Portugal, whereafter it gained its independence in 1822. Since then, Brazil has experienced a huge growth of immigration, until today, where it has become the fifth largest country in terms of population. Furthermore, Brazil is a BRIC country. It has Latin America's largest economy and is its largest country, and has actually become the sixth largest economy in the world, after surpassing the UK in 2010. Its economy is largely depending on commodities, especially crude oil, soybeans, sugar, poultry, and iron ore. So far, this all sounds very good. Unfortunately, it is not the case. The UNICEF rates Brazil as the country with the largest amount of inequality. If you walk alongside the beaches in Ipanema, you can reside in one of the richest areas in whole Brazil. And from your apartment, you will have the chance to look on the other side of life, the favelas. When looking at Brazil's growth in GDP, it has had various fluctuations in the recent years. Especially in 2008-2009, during the global financial crisis, it has experienced a massive downturn. Due to it largely depending on its commodities and exporting these, it has managed, however, to recover rather quickly. However, in the recent 2 years, 2011 and 12, it has experienced another downturn, reducing its GDP growth from 7.5 to merely 1%. As mentioned previously, Brazil largely depends on its exports of its commodities to different countries across the world. Its main export partner is China, with 17.3% in 2011.
Now let's take a look at China's economic situation. China is the second biggest economy in the world, right after the United States of America. China has a 10% GDP growth rate for the last 3 decades. Now, how did China manage to maintain this high growth rate over all those years? The answer is managed capitalism. Managed capitalism is a strategy where China's government invests a lot of money in government-owned enterprises, more often called state-owned enterprises. These enterprises can make a lot of money, which then the government can reinvest in other projects to boost the economy. This strategy allowed China to grow for all those years, but also made them very dependent on the outside world. So when there's a global crisis, as is the case in the current world, then China's economy suffers. Another reason for the economy slowdown is that when the economy keeps rising, the wages increase, which in turn makes the export more expensive. Because of the introduction of the one-child policy, China's workforce has become very grey. These old workers don't have the efficiency as young workers offer. This problem can be resolved by either removing the one-child policy or stimulating immigration towards China. Because of these threats, China has shifted from an industry-led to a consumption-led economy. This means they stimulate more labor-intensive growth and stop subsidizing large firms and instead subsidize the consumption economy. This will result in more household income. This in turn increases the consumption and provides more economic sustainability.
So to answer our previously asked question, it can be said that Brazil is doing worse than China due to basically the global economic crisis. This crisis has also affected China to reduce its growth forecasts from the recent 3 decades of 10% to only 7.5%. This means that China will be producing less in general, therefore demanding less iron ore. And because Brazil is exporting most of its commodities to China, this will have a serious impact on Brazil's economy. Furthermore, Brazil should be focusing on different sectors of its economy as well, as it is mainly focusing on commodities at the moment. They should seek to go more into the manufacturing sectors, where they could prevent from having to import readily produced goods with their own iron ore, which they could instead produce themselves. Unfortunately, Brazil is suffering under various bottlenecks due to its lack in education, due to poverty, and due to little and often no infrastructure. Of course, Brazil is now investing a lot into the upcoming World Cup in 2014 and the Olympics in 2016. However, the country is split on whether this will have a positive or negative impact on the country and its economy.